I thought I would do a commentary, like a director's commentary, breakdown kind of video this week. Over our last French road trip video, it went down really well with a lot of our veteran viewers. A lot of people that watched us said it was one of the favourite videos we've ever made. A lot of people really liked it, so I thought it would be a good video to break down, to talk about, discuss why I made certain decisions. And I personally, I just love these type of videos. I mean, if you ever have watched The Joker, which is such a great film, Todd Phillips did a director's commentary on it. Not that I'm putting myself anywhere near Todd Phillips in terms of a director, but he did an amazing kind of a director's commentary on The Joker, which I probably enjoyed about as much as I enjoyed the film. I just like them. So I figured I would do something similar over this video and talk about why I made certain decisions and why I did certain things. So yeah. Anyway, so hopefully you've all watched it, so you know what I'm talking about. But it's our French road trip. It's about 1,400 miles we did from our house in Bath all the way down to the south of France and back. I took all of our gear with us and filmed most of it on the cinema camera, the Canon C500 Mark II. And the B camera was the EOS R, the mirrorless camera, which I have mounted here in the car, which I use to capture these shots. I ideally really would like a little bit of a wider lens. I use a fixed 24 for these lenses, for these shots, but I'd like something a little bit wider. But yeah, the only problem with wide-angle lenses is I don't really like the distortion. 24 fixed 24 is such a great lens. It's probably on my camera about 90% of the time for vlogging. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, it was a few stops to get down to the south. And we were quite concerned about doing a road trip with two kids. We haven't done anything anywhere near this type of trip with two kids before. We did the North Coast 500 with Land Rover around Scotland with Grayson. I think Hannah may have been pregnant with Rufus back then, but we hadn't ever done anything like this, 1,400 miles. So we broke it up quite a lot with all these little stopovers. I organised it all myself. I sat there for a good half a day just organising the trip. I had an ex-girlfriend who used to be very good at doing all the organising. Hannah isn't that good at organising stuff, so I have to do it. And I normally get things wrong because I got lazy with my ex and let her do everything. Hannah refuses, so I have to take the reins, which basically means I normally ball something up. So I was very concerned with this trip that something was going to go wrong dramatically, but luckily it didn't. Like, we've been known to turn up to airports early, late, like days early and days late. We've made all sorts of like just ridiculous fuck ups in our lives with traveling and arranging stuff, but this one went really well. So yeah, we got the little overnight ferry from Portsmouth. Which is actually really comfortable. Those beds were really nice. They did smell a little bit, but they were so comfy. We all really enjoyed it, actually. We had probably only about 5 hours sleep, but they were surprisingly comfortable. And then we got off the ferry on the Sunday morning, and then we had our first drive down to Scarlett de Canada, which was I'd say about a 4-hour drive. But it was lovely. It was it was a nice little ferry over. I highly recommend doing the overnight ferry. It was recommended by our friend Neil and Ane, who we went to meet. They always do the overnight, and they said it's a really good way to do it. And it really is. You kind of just go to bed and then wake up, and there you are. There's me getting a shot. I think they call that a mouthy. Those shots where you stick a GoPro in your mouth. Me trying a bit of my old French here. It's about the only thing I know is how to say my name. Je m'appelle Stefan. I know how to say j'habite un petit maison. I live in a small house. Collage too. How old are you? I know a few of them, but not much. But yeah, we gave our little dog to our friend Ollie, who looked after him, and then after Ollie had him for a couple of days, Janine, Hannah's friend Janine and Phil, they took over and looked after him. And we stayed in this little Airbnb here. I should have really checked the small print or whatever, but they didn't give us any sheets or soap or anything. I don't think it was like half a roll of toilet paper. Yeah, it was. It was very. I'd sold it to myself as being very rustic. It was very rustic, but they had this really nice pool. That's the one thing they did have there, a lovely pool. And I tried not to be a dick. I really did, because it was. I wanted to, I didn't just want to complain about it. And I think somebody pointed out in the comments that they probably didn't give a sheet because of COVID. And once I said to him, look, can I please have some sheets? He straight away bought some sheets over, and it was great. But yeah. Yeah, Grayson just spent the whole day jumping into that pool pretty much. Absolutely loved it. It was great. There's Hannah telling me about her makeup tips. I thought whether Joe leave this in, but I was like, actually, 90% of our viewers are girls, so they probably would want the tip. So I left it in. She did have those big strips of blusher down her cheeks. I remember on Southgate seeing them and being like, it looks a bit clownish. But try telling a girl you're dating that she looks like a fucking clown. See how that goes for you. But then also create like a 3 shape. There you go. You look a bit sun-kissed, but without being overly bronzed. So this is our first full day. We started off the day down at the beach, which was great. Oh, I've got a bit of a sticking there. Went down to the beach. It was lovely. We just minced around, got some food. The kids found us some crabs. It was just really sweet. It was just a nice, start of the day. This was the only place that we were going to stay with a beach. So, they loved it. They loved being on the beach. Rufus found himself a little gecko. Wasn't too sure what it was. He is just so cute, man. I know I'm a biased dad here when I'm saying this, but the boy is just ridiculous. And it's a bit cringy when you have a parent going on about how cute their kid is, but he's just so freaking cute. I mean, he's just such a nice energy to him. He's always just he's so empathetic for a 2-year-old. He always wants to make sure everyone's okay and having a good time, and he's a really sweet little kid. This was me basically low key complaining about the Airbnb, but trying to sell it to myself as being like a rustic French experience, and playing it like that to myself, so I didn't get too angry and turn into one of those sort of twatty English tourists coming over complaining about the French not giving them what they expect. But yeah, this is the rustic French way of life. This is how they do it. The French, they don't care about stuff like bed sheets and towels and hygiene. They just care about the experience of the day. I thought I'd get in trouble for saying that, actually, the hygiene bit. I thought there'd be a few comments with people cancelling me for saying the French weren't hygienic. It was obviously a joke, but people tend to get a bit upset about that sort of thing in 2020. The beach. We were going to go for golden hour, but it's a little bit late for the kids to go for golden hour. Everyone's already quite tired, so we're just going to go for half an hour and then come home and chill. Yeah, I got so much B-roll on this trip, and we didn't actually talk as much as sometimes whenever Hannah and I sit down with the cameras and we film. A lot of it doesn't make the cut because it's just a conversation which is either dull or it car crashes or it ends in an argument or for some reason it just doesn't go anywhere. So I walked away from this trip with tons of this really nice B-roll footage. So I get into the edit and I look at it back. I think this is really nice, and I put some music over it, but then it just feels a bit flat. And I felt like that for some time. Like, we always used to do these silky montages. Everyone knows us for them back in the day in London. And sometimes I would end up watching them and just being bored stiff because I'd be like, well, it's not actually saying anything. It's nice shots and music and stuff, but what's the message? So I've recently been getting into more writing. I've been using a lot of poets and creative writers and bringing their work in. Obviously credit them. I'm not saying it's mine and stealing it. I'm sort of, do credit them. But recently I've been trying to write myself. And this scene here with Grayson and Rufus, that I suppose him with the sunflowers is a bit of a metaphor for obstacles in life. And this was all a poem about Grayson looking after his brother. I kind of wrote it on behalf of Grayson and to his younger brother. And I just kind of wrote it hoping that they would find it one day on the on the internet, somewhere buried in YouTube, and they'd watch it when they're old enough to comprehend it, and it would draw them a little bit closer if they ever drift apart. But I just really wanted to set the stage for them both to be this united front in the world with all these obstacles that they're going to come across. And Hannah and I aren't going to be around forever, and I really want them to have each other always and have each other's back. So it meant a lot to me to write a kind of a poem that would dignify all of that. And yeah, so I liked how it turned out. I was happy with how it turned out. When I watch it back, I kind of, I watch it back with a very critical eye, and I think, oh, I wish I had more shots of them two together. But, I didn't know I was going to write that when I filmed it. I just got back and kind of reacted to the footage. A lot of what I do is very reactionary. So I get the shots, get them back into the edit, and think, how can I create out of this? It's like, yeah, they're all the shots are like the paints, and I put them together and I mix them together and I see what I can paint out of them, rather than going in with a plan. Like, I never really go into a video like this with any type of plan. I just go and shoot, and then in the edit I decide how to put it together and what kind of story I want to tell. I mean, I think Hannah was so moody here. She was really tired. She was so grumpy.
The next place this morning, you'd be like, can we come now? This is like 8 o'clock in the morning.
I flew the idea past you, Hannah. But the lighting there was perfect.
Yeah. Out into my Airbnb.
I want to see how far. That's the camera on. I think my coat lying on the ground filming this scene, and I've got a mic hidden behind that bag. This is Hannah filmed this part on her iPhone. I quite like every now and again bringing in iPhone footage. It makes it feel a little bit more authentic when you're filming. Like, it's this new thing that I like doing. When you have all these nice cinematic shots and these high-end cinema cameras, I think to bring in, that very small, tiny censored phone it can give you a nice juxtaposition between the high end and then the more authentic stuff. We've got everything lined up. We've got all our ducks in order. Is that the phrase? Ducks in order? Ducks in array. Ducks in order. You see that behind us there? We had. I don't want to do a hashtag ad here, but that was the Microsoft Surface Go 2, which I recently did an ad for. The thing you have behind Hannah there, which the kids would watch stuff on. Really good. I'd give that's a massive, great big tip for anyone who's going away. Get one of those cradles that attaches to the back of your seat and let the kids watch stuff on a little tablet. Yeah. We started off thinking, like, let's not give the kids anything. Like, let's not give the kids any kind of iPad or tablet or anything. Or if we do, let's give it to them for, a 10, 15 minutes and take it away for the rest of the hour and then another 10, 15 minutes. We soon realized that was the stupidest fucking idea we've ever had. Because we both thought, like, it would be better for the kids to be a bit bored and use their imagination, look out the window. But no. We soon realised after the first couple of days, give them as much as that shit as they want, and it just made our life so much easier. And they had a better time as well when they had something to do. So they had their little Microsoft tablet, and they had the little what do you call it? He had a little Switch. Grace had a Switch and a little Kindle. There's a universal truth. This poem that can be summed up in four. Well, not poem. I don't think it's a fucking poem. It's not really a poem. It's more of like a. I don't really know what this is. This narration that I wrote is a little bit, I suppose, about something that I've been wrestling with personally for the past 18 months to 2 years. And that's the coming to terms with losing something that I love and dealing with the grief that goes with that. And I know this sounds a bit melodramatic, but it's about the slow death of our channel, which is something I've had to come to terms with. And it's been very difficult. Because we just see, like, everything's going south for us. It has been for a long time, about 18 months to 2 years. Views are down, subscribers go down from about 1,000 roughly each month. People work with us less. I have been watching this slow death of the channel, and it's really broken my heart because I love it so much. I put so much into it, and to watch it die is so sad. But I've had to come to terms with it. And when I talk about, when this section of the video talks about when we love, we grieve, it's like, it's just a natural process. Like, any creator is on the same trajectory. However big they are, they all have to at one point realize that their channels will die. And I've had to come to terms with that. And I feel like I have now, and I feel like I've accepted it. And instead of like kind of letting it drag me down, I've kind of accepted it. But I wanted to talk about it. But sometimes it's nice to talk about things abstractly, not talk about them so matter of fact, but to talk about them through spoken word and talk about them through using metaphors and try creatively express what you're feeling, but being a bit more nuanced about it. To hang it like a veil over every insignificant borrowed moment that we have. And that's me talking about how I have to appreciate it while it's here. It may be dying, but I still have it for a while, and we're still here, and you're still watching, and you're still listening to my voice, and we're still together making these little videos, and it may be dying, but we're still doing it for a while. And I have to accept that, and it's all about acceptance. When we love, we grieve, and that's the way it is. But yeah, that's the thinking behind that section of the video. I don't know where it's about to go now.
We just did a little walk around.
Oh yeah, this is me having a bitch about tourists. The place was packed full of tourists, and I do absolutely hate tourists. Now, I know I shouldn't say this right now, but I just want to be honest with you. I did say a couple of years ago, what the world needs is a pandemic. I said that to Hannah all the time. I was kind of half joking, but half not. I was like, we need a pandemic. We need people wiped out. And then COVID happened, and I felt really bloody bad for saying that. I felt like I should. I was like, why did I wish for that? Why did I wish for that? I was kind of joking. But then it happened, and I was like, no, I didn't mean it. You got to be careful what you wish for sometimes. But yeah, I didn't want hundreds of thousands of people to die. It just said there were less people around. It was just me joking around, but I shouldn't have really joked about it. I stuck in that little animation there because I hadn't done an animation in such a bloody long time, and I bought that Wacom tablet. I need to put it to use every now and again to justify the amount I spent on it. So I just stuck in a little animation there. This actually, when I first did this scene, I actually this was I couldn't say it properly. So I was like, well, I should leave that in. Like I was struggling to say it. And when I put the narration in and I heard myself do all these fuck ups, I was like, actually, I should do that. I should redo it, and I struggled to say the bloody word, and then put the audio in of me typing in some internet to find out what it was called. I like in the videos, by the way, I love how these drone shots turned out. Anyway, I like in the videos when there's a little bit of education. I like education, humor. I like thought pieces. But there's something I think within being a dad is you want to find out facts about shit and regurgitate them, like dads tend to like doing. The older I get, the more of a dad I turn into, the more I want to do that. And that's why I like sometimes talking about kind of the history of places or some of the facts about a place like this. History is such a fascinating thing, and I feel like bringing a bit of that in is great. So that's why that scene scratched that itch, I suppose. I love how somebody put a mask on that statue. I think that's so funny. Yeah, I did buy Rufus and Grayson's swords. I don't know why I did that. I think I had a couple of wines and I was like, I'm going to be a good dad and buy my kids some swords. It was the worst idea I think I ever had. Buying two young kids swords, I don't know what I was thinking. It just caused so much drama. Anyway, yeah, this was our trip down to Lorriman. Again, I had loads of B-roll of the trip, and I was like, how am I going to deal with this? I can't just have some music over just us driving. It'd be boring as hell. So I decided to put a narration. I didn't know how this would go down, but a narration about why the roads in Europe are so much better than they are in the UK, so I did a bit of digging online, and I found like the most boring explanation for what it was, and regurgitated it. By frost damage, which is readily and frequently repaired, which gives undulations of relatively long wavelengths. In the UK, however, frost damage may be less frequent, but we do have an additional problem because the substrate tends to be washed away by the water table. I didn't know how that would go down. I was like, are people going to get that? Are people going to be okay with me just going on about this boring fact about road surface degradation in the UK? Is that going to interest anyone? Is that going to make anyone laugh? Is it worth it to leave that amount of it in? But I kind of feel like it worked. I kind of feel like it was a bit of my inner Alan Partridge coming out there. Yeah, Toulouse was beautiful. We didn't shoot much of Toulouse because we were only in there for lunch, and sometimes like with the kids and the heat, you just like, I can't be fucked to carry the cameras around. I just want to go for lunch and just kick back. So we didn't film much of it other than this couple of scenes when we were driving through. It's the sort of place we want to go back to, though. We did really like what we saw of it, what little we saw of it anyway. Yeah, everyone did have a death wish, though. People were jumping in front of our car left, right and centre.
E-Town is like a shop that I used to shop in when I was like 11, 12.
I'd never heard of E-Town in my bloody life. Warhammer, however, hell yeah. No, I'm joking. I did, but I didn't play the game, so I just bought the little figures.
It's so weird the way nobody moves out of the way of the cars.
No.
Like they're literally just walking in the way of the cars.
I know.
I don't get it.
It's like they've all got death wish.
But like on their phones like that as well. It's so
God, we're
bizarre.
such parents, aren't we? I should have put subtitles in there
Talk
for
about the
Ruthie.
texture of British road surfaces, particularly on major highways. They're generally rougher.
Sometimes I think with the joke, like the more you lay it on, sometimes you're like, haha, and then like you lay it on a bit thicker and then it becomes funnier the more it goes on. Yeah, I don't know if that worked for this one, but I still had more B-roll footage of this beautiful landscape. I was like, I need to do something with this, and yeah.
Specifically compromising the ride quality and vehicle refinement. We made it.
We did it.
That was a big drive, man. So yeah, now things sort of come. Now we're at the final destination. I could kind of relax into the video a bit more, and it sort of comes together. Because before it was kind of like we were just stepstoning. You know what I'm trying to say. They were all stepping stones to get to here. But now we were here, I could kind of think a bit more and relax a bit more into it and think a bit more about the shots and compositions and stuff like that. So I feel like the video kind of elevates after we arrive down here in the south of France. Yeah, it was so difficult to find somewhere to stay. Like everywhere was booked out. We couldn't find. I went through so many campsites and just managed to randomly find this one. Obviously now I think you've got to quarantine if you go to France or come back from France. So a lot of people are, not going and not doing the trip. But we were lucky to kind of get back just before the quarantine measures kind of came in. But yeah, luckily they did have air conditioning there, which none of the other places had. Only went down to 18 degrees though. I needed it down to 16. It was so hot, man. 35-degree heat. When you're a ginger Irishman, 35-degree heat is unbearable.
We're about to head to
I look so tired.
a local market, like a farmer's market.
If this was to describe the south of France in 2 words, it would be impossibly pretty. As Fitzgerald described it, the diffused magic of the hot, sweet... sometimes with the kids and Hannah, and you're trying to kind of be a dad and experience being out there and helping with the kids and being, present while shooting and while trying to get the shots. It can be a really tricky juggling act sometimes. Because you don't just want to kind of distance yourself and go off and trying to shoot loads of stuff. At the same time, you need the shots, so you've got to try and balance the two. I hated how my audio turned out here.
Just uncomfortable to be around.
I don't know why it sounded so bad. I tried to fix it in the
Make you feel really on edge.
in the post, but it just sounded even worse.
No, I don't think that.
There's a really good feature on the drones where you can just sort of tap on your car and it would follow. It just automatically follows you. So I tap on us and then I just drive and it follows me along. It's really good.
Where is it? Bonu? Is that how you pronounce it? Something like that. It looks like one of those kingdoms that they make up.
Again, that shot there, you can just tap on that little statue and then it just press a button and it will kind of circle around it. It gives you that really nice kind of cinematic shot. So beautiful down there. I can't believe it's taken me so long to discover this place. I liked how this shot here turned out, especially. God, that watermelon out there is so delicious. I think this is like, I wasn't going to leave this bit in, but it's really important to leave this bit in. I felt like a dickhead when I was watching it back, but I feel like sometimes it's very important to not just go with the flow and to step outside of the moment and objectively appreciate it. And that's kind of what I felt like I was doing here. I was like, this is a really nice moment when everyone's happy and content and it was a nice time of the evening and I had a beer and I just felt, and if I don't step out of this moment and objectively see it, then I'm just gonna let it pass and I won't acknowledge it. And I felt like it was important to acknowledge. So that's what I was kind of doing here, is being like, oh, this is a really nice moment and it's important that I appreciate it while it lasts, because this is what it was all for. Yeah. I had to blur, as you can see, the bottom of the screen out there because of Rufus didn't have any pants on. So bless him. What I should have done on this scene is had a couple of B-roll shots that were like of us from different angles, because there's a bit where it cuts from him talking here to like being sad, and it kind of is too much of a harsh cut, because like, why is he here giving me his French translations and then cuts to him being sad? I should have kind of buffered that with it there. You see that shot there, it just jumped straight to that. I should have buffered that with something, but I didn't have anything. That's why you should always, with shots and stuff like this, get a couple of cutaways of other things so you can buffer these kind of jumps. I don't like jump cuts, and I'll try and avoid them whenever I can. You can see him there trying to get his brother in trouble. Like, I was like, tell me who's done something wrong and I'll do something about it. He's like, oh, this is my chance to get my older brother in trouble. It's Grayson. Grayson's like, yeah, of course it's me. The subtitles there, you can see sometimes what I do is I put them like word by word in. That's so time consuming, but it looks so much better. Sometimes when I don't have time or I'm time precious, I have to put them all as a kind of a, you know, like the line, each line at a time. But it looks so much better when it's one word at a time. See there, I just didn't have time, so I kind of put the sentence in as a whole.
You'll forget that. I know you will.
He won't.
When we get back to Bath, you remind me, and I'll put him on the naughty step, okay?
You just don't definitely forget that, please. I distract
Rufus.
Hey, Rufus,
No.
you got a one-way ticket.
He's so cheeky, man.
You can both sit on the naughty step.
They do this thing these days. It's really cute. It's kind of really cute, but really annoying. Istid goes like, Mummy says yes, and he's like, Daddy says no. They do this really annoying that you're going on the naughty step. They go up an octave at the last bit. It's kind of like really antagonistic, but kind of really funny at the same time.
No. Yeah.
Yes.
Their whole life is about winding each other up.
In my face?
Yeah.
Just yes. You think you can get pudding? We're just saying yes.
Manners.
Please. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Mummy, I've got another wobbly
Let's
tooth.
see.
I like the way that he said that because it lines up for what happens in the next day. He's talking about his wobbly tooth. Yeah, this bit here, I really wanted to. I was talking about how like nice France was, but I didn't want to get too carried away, so I wanted to.
In the way that it knows it is and leans into it, like my ex Lucy used to do all the time.
I wanted to make this fictitious kind of like almost like I was still a bitter about an ex. You know the way some guys can't get over exes, they just can't let it go. And the same with girls, they just can't let it go, and they pretend they're really cool with it, and they're so over it, but they're not. I find. I mean, although it's tragic, there's so much funny within that tragedy, like that. That kind of that ego and the tragedy, and there's just so much humor in that of a guy who just can't get over his ex. I think we've all been that guy or girl.
Say actually, the south of France is the polar opposite of my ex Lucy, because the south of France has grace, dignity, and a bit of ruddy self-respect.
That big was the anger. I don't know if anyone picked up on that.
The need to upload Instagram pictures of their new engagement ring with the caption, "I don't think I've ever been this happy before." Good luck spending the rest of your life with a type 2 diabetic, mate. That's all I can say.
My biggest regret with that narration there was that it wasn't better. I'm a massive, great big fan of Steve Coogan. Obviously, especially Alan Partridge. I adore Alan Partridge. And a lot of his stuff is written by these two guys called Rob Gibbons and Neil Gibbons. They pretty much write, I reckon, like everything that Steve Coogan has done over the recent years, books and series and everything, and his thing he did with Tim Key, Mid Morning Matters. They're basically the key writers. And weirdly, one of them follows me, one of the brothers. I think they both did at one point, but then one of them stopped. I noticed. And so I reached out to him and I said, look, I've got this, I'll pay you. I know you're busy and shit. I know you've got loads of stuff going on, but I'm happy to pay you, but please could you just look at that? I want him to look at that like script there about Lucy and just and help me write it. I'd obviously would have credited him, but I just said, look, it'd be such an honor to work with you on this because I admire you as a writer so much. And I would love for you to look at this. It's only like, 100 words, whatever. Just if you could look over it and tell me how I can make it funny, I'd really appreciate it. But he did not reply.
However, the French don't have a tooth fairy. Instead, they have something called a petite soise.
I should have animated a little mouse there with a little petite soise with the text, but I didn't have the time. This is a lot of people commented on this in the comments about how Rufus was so empathetic. Like, has he got blood on it? Are you okay? Grace is like, yeah. And then Rufus is like, good. I'm glad I hung this shot here for so long. I think eventually I slowed it down a bit, but I like it when shots move from one composition to a different composition. I had to remind myself to kind of to hang shots more. I tend to forget sometimes and cut them too soon, and I was glad that I hung that one for as long as I did. Now, this was trying to I sat there one night when Hannah was in the shower, and I wrote everything I felt and saw on my notes on my phone, and then I used it for this scene, talking about the in-between moments and the sleepy drives. It's the whispers from the kids' rooms, the little voices with big plans. It's underneath the bleached sky. It's in a blue light from an off-brand LCD TV set in standby mode, loitering in a shady corner. It's all about the things that you wouldn't normally see if you weren't doing the thing that you're doing, and all those tiny things that make up the experience. And they don't have to be sensational things. They're just the insignificant things. It's in an upturned glass next to a sink, next to an empty wine bottle. I know I'm going to sound like a penis here, but I genuinely find beauty in almost everything I see. And it's in every molecule and atom that we feel and don't feel. I can look at sometimes like an inanimate object and just see so much beauty within it. All the spaces between. In its structure and how it's formed and its being, I just find fascinating. And I draw on that a lot. Hey mate, I'm just doing a voiceover. Sorry, this is Grayson asking for something on Alexa. Yeah, I'll play the Guess Who game with you in a minute. Give me 10 minutes. Alexa, hang up. Sorry about that. He wants to play Guess Who with me. What are you doing? We there? A few people like this in-joke. I made a whole song about... Never mind. It's a long story.
So tomorrow we've got to check out of here at 8 o'clock, and then we're going to start our journey all the way back up to the...
I wish we had longer down here to film more of this.
Over to Portsmouth to get over back to the UK.
But yeah,
that's a massive, great, big...
I had to get back from a bloody hair transplant. But I wish we had longer down south. I really think I could have done so much more with it if we were down here for a bit longer. I would have ideally liked like a whole month to be down there and to go to like Nice and Cannes and stuff like that and go right down into the south. I reckon we could have had a great time, but I don't know. Hopefully the French Tourist Board will see this and invite us back one day and we can do it properly. But yeah, and that was kind of the end of the last part, of the end of our kind of southern France part of our trip, which we were all really sad about because it was probably the most magical part of it. Yeah. Yeah. They name things so awkwardly out here, so you can't... They don't name things that awkwardly. I'm just a bit stupid and can't bloody say them. What did it say earlier? Turn left down, and it's almost like she was making up a word. I kind of felt bad for leaving this scene in because I was like, oh God, all those vegans watching. This is what this job turns you into. You kind of always think, oh, I hope that doesn't upset the vegans, you know? I told him to say that, Master of the Universe. I just wanted a shot of him saying that because my life was He-Man when I was his age. I think that eventually we will break through this. I do. Because that's what I think every single song in this is not licensed music, as in it's all from different... I have about 3 different subscriptions these days to different audio banks and networks that I use unlicensed music from. And I was quite really impressed with how well the music came out. It's a huge part of our videos is the scoring of the videos. And I had to stop using licensed music because what happened was that the musicians or the labels technically owned my video. Like they would put all these adverts in, they would take things down. I had no control over what I could do with that video. I've had a few videos taken down because they had some song in it from somewhere, and I couldn't have that happen anymore. I don't want adverts in my videos. I want them to be completely like open and no ads, and yeah, I want to own them. So I've started to use unlicensed music. I sometimes use these different kind of crops. It's difficult to articulate why they work, but sometimes they just do. Like I'm losing quite a lot of real estate. Some really nice stuff is behind those bars, but it's the way it draws your eyes in and the nostalgia behind it. it's kind of something that's very difficult to explain, but you do it when it feels right, and you just feel it. You put it in, you're like, yeah, that needs that kind of crop. Now, talking about the music, I hate this music. I should have chosen a better song here to load in. I think it's really cheesy, this bit when it comes in. It kind of is like a breath of fresh air when it comes in, but at the same time it's a bit too corny. I wish I could have had a bit longer to find a better track. But I did do this nice effect here, listen. Right, guys, where it sounds like it's coming from a radio. So it kind of cuts to make it sound like we're listening to a radio. You have to do a few different effects, modulations in the edit to make it sound like you're flicking the audio is going to like sound like it's coming from a radio. You have to mess around with the mids and the highs and the lows, but then you can do it. I've saved it as a preset now. That's the most boring thing I've ever said.
I feel like I'm going to go a bit hippie when we get home.
I did this whole trip by myself. Hannah didn't drive because she was too nervous. I got the car back. I was so happy when I got home. I got the car back without a dent in it. I was driving for over 1,000 miles on the opposite side of the road through all these intricate little kind of French villages. I got it back, not a scratch. Hannah takes the car up the road to pick up the dog. About 2 minutes up the road, comes back, smashes in the back of the car, reverses into a fucking bollard. I couldn't talk to her for about 48 hours after that. I was furious. It cost about $1,000 to get it fixed.
Like, it freaks me out.
She never did buy that tongue scraper, by the way.
Ooh, I'd love to see him when you're finished.
When have you ever had issues with tongue bacteria?
I haven't had issues. I just read that it's a really good way to get rid of toxins.
Sometimes these conversations are half an hour long, and I'll use 5 seconds. I had all these shots of Shin on, and there was 2 days, and I decided to condense them into one poem. And I wrote this poem about really just, it's how peculiar we are.
Peculiar creatures we are.
I do genuinely find us really strange and peculiar and odd and bizarre. And I thought, I'm going to write about that.
What compassion we show.
And I thought coming from a 6-year-old's voice would be so much nicer way
What
to...
stories we tell.
Because they're the ones with the really,
What art we
I don't know, like, intrigued minds. And I sometimes look at Rufus and Grace and I just think, God, do you not comprehend the magnitude of this? I think because we just slowly all get used to it, that we don't go like, whoa, what's going on?
What lies we believe. What little we understand. What eternity we await.
I always feel like that, like we don't, like, our minds are...
What empires we build.
I feel sometimes like my mind is in a small room, and outside of that small room is eternity, and I get frustrated that I can't break out of that small room. And in a way, creating videos, it lets me...
What sacrifices we make.
lets me travel outside this room, even though I'm not going outside, but it lets me kind of explore more and get out of my mind.
Majesty we ignore.
Because, yeah, what majesty we ignore. I was happy with that line because I think so many of us are so oblivious to it. We're so oblivious to
What
all,
legacies we leave.
to the absolute profound beauty that's everywhere, in everything, in every tiny thing that we see. But I feel like if you feel that way about things, and it comes at a cost. Like everything has to be juxtapositioned. Everything has a cost. And if you find all this beauty and all these things around you and the insignificant, it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost if you see sorrow.
What fun we have.
Just as viscerally as you see the beauty. And you flitter between the two.
What pain we feel.
Even when he's crying, he's so bloody cute, that kid. Oh, this was such a lovely shot. I loved how this shot turned out. Just them sharing their little ice cream. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of the end of it now. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown video of the French road trip. I hope some of it made sense now, and gave you a bit more of a picture about what it was like and why I made certain decisions. And if you like this type of video, let me know and I'll do more of them. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you all soon for our next video. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.